Hello and welcome back to the Long Live Rock and Roll podcast. After the success of Bayou Country, Creedence Clearwater Revival returned with Green River, an album that would define their sound and solidify their place in rock and roll history. With its mix of swamp blues, country and rockabilly, the album showcased John Fogerty's vision, backed by the talent of his bandmates. From the driving riffs of Bad Moon Rising to the bittersweet storytelling of Lodi, Green River captures the essence of Creedence's roots-driven style and was a musical statement that still echoes through American rock music today. Joining me to discuss this album is my co-host, Mr. Felipe Amrin. How you doing, bro?
Doing great, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Is all going all right?
Yeah, we're going all right, man.
Nice. Creedence.
Yeah, Creedence.
I smile on my face whenever we talk about Creedence and John Fogerty, and every time we do an episode, about Creedence, and we do another album, because that was one of the first ones we did. I think it was episode 3, maybe it might have been the third episode we did. Whenever we do one, I hear a new song, I listen to another album, and I think, my God, these guys are unstoppable, and I regret not sorting out with you to come and see John Fogerty all those years ago. Man. I think at the time I couldn't afford it. I think, I had a few other gigs booked in and some festivals, and I was like, I can't justify going to another gig. But I'm just praying that he does another run around the UK at some point. Or was the one you saw him at, did he say it was his last one?
No, I don't think he's planning to retire or anything. It was his birthday on that day. I think he was turning 78 or something. It was a couple of years ago. Yeah. And his voice is still like the same, still singing in the same keys, and it's just guitar play and vocals, like it's just like the record. He still has it.
Yeah.
And he's still passionate about it, which I think it's a skill in itself. To still have that love for music and perform as if that is,
It matters, man. It matters. Anyway, so today we are talking about the middle one of their 1969 albums, and I want to touch on this. I want to touch on this as well. And do you know what? Actually, we'll mix things up a bit. First of all, we'll do what we normally do, which is the terms and conditions. Which means if you are listening to this on Apple or Spotify, do us a massive favor: scroll down, give us 5 stars, write us a little review if you enjoy the show, and it helps us because we move up the charts, get seen by more people, and our visibility grows. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe so you stay up to date with our new content, and make sure you share this video with any other Creedence fans you know. So what we'd normally do is I'd run through the album details, but I want to talk about where this album sits in Creedence's discography, or not their discography, their 1969 stuff, because I think
1969 discography.
Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible that we can talk about a band to this extent, about 3 albums in 1969, which is a mammoth task itself. But I actually went through and I listened to all of them. Go.
3 great albums.
Yes. Yeah. I listened to all of them, and I think the journey you can hear in 1 year between this band is incredible. We're going to talk about Creedence versus the other music scene later on in the episode, but just a quick, because I don't want to spoil what you have to say, but a lot of things other bands were doing. If you look at bands like Grateful Dead, at this point in their career, there was a lot of acid-inspired bands out there playing 30-minute extended jams, weren't there?
Yeah.
And exactly. Lots of instrumentation. You can talk about that later. The first album, Bayou Country, has 3 songs that are over 5 minutes. And you kind of get, from a couple of those songs, you kind of get that little, okay, we're trying our hand at some jams here. We're trying this. We're trying to fit in. And then you hear Green River, which they're just like, we don't fit in here. And that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we do well, which is short, sweet, to the point songwriting, where most songs are under 4 minutes. And then we will definitely do Willie and the Poor Boys another time, but you hear much more of a gospel-y, soul-y side on that album, but we'll get to that later. But the transition between Bayou Country and Green River, I think, is phenomenal because of that realization that actually this, Bayou Country, we're going to try and look at what others are doing around us, and then Green River being like, no, this is not us, so we're going to stick to what we're good at.
Yeah, exactly. And it's when they found the formula, isn't it? I think there was this relentless songwriting period from John Fogerty, and he just wanted to put the songs out, song after song after song, So there's a song about that in the album, about the fact he was writing like relentlessly and actually causing problems in his personal life. Yeah.
But what did we do to deserve John Fogerty? My God.
Yeah.
What a songwriter.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will just do the album details quickly, get that out of the way so that we can talk about, we already spoke about the work ethic, and then we can start talking about the lyrics and storytelling and songwriting on the album, because I think that's the most important aspect. Yeah. There's musical innovations as well, but the key in this album is the lyrics. So the album was released August 7th, 1969. It was recorded between March and June of the same year at the Wally Heider studio in San Francisco. The genre is quite obviously swamp rock, and the length is just under 30 minutes, at 29 and a half minutes, released on the Fantasy label and produced by the man himself, John Fogerty. Now, let's talk about the lyrics and storytelling. So do you want to kick off? Because I know that's your forte normally.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about it. I think there's I think the first song, being Green River, really means something. It's a title track and it's the first track. And lyric-wise is about remembering your childhood, is what it is. And John Fogerty mentioned in a few interviews that this song is about a river he used to go to when he was a kid. But it wasn't called Green River, right? He just named it Green River because that's how he remembered it.
Do you know what it is?
Green River.
It is the Putah Creek in Northern California.
There you go.
That's where him and his family used to go on holidays.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He's a country boy, so he talks. The other subject of that comes up in the album is the difference between living in the city and living in the countryside. So Commotion is about life in the city, and how you see if that's actually his vision of what life in the city is. You see that he doesn't fit in. So those two songs are really like Commotion is the second one, isn't it? It's the second track. Yeah. So you have him talking about life in the country on the first track and life in the city on the second track. That's a great start for an album.
Very clever.
Green River, he says, is about childhood memories and remembering going to that river. But he said it could be any river in any country, any countryside of town. What the point is, if someone has that sort of memories about the river, about nature, about being a kid in the countryside, they can relate to the song. I think that's how he's really clever about not actually naming the river.
I feel it's more about the experiences with his family and having a place that him and his memories take him to in a good time. But that's quite a big feature throughout the album. It's based on nostalgia and a sense of home. This is my home. And although there's the talks about, the city in Commotion, and there's talks about the restrictions of living where he does in the song Lodi, this still is his home. And this is where he grew up. This is where he was born. This is where him and his family resided. And this is where their memories and their life and his upbringing began.
Yeah, and when you look into Commotion, is him looking at the city lifestyle as something he doesn't belong to. It's like there's some talks from the White House, whatever. It's like I don't even care about the political news, and is into like people are talking but they don't mean anything. That's basically what it is. A lot of talk, not a lot of meaning, and also everyone is just upset or angry or frustrated. So you have that feeling from the song, this commotion, and he's like, the way he sings about it is almost like an outsider, right? And he was an outsider in that sense. It's like, it's not where I fit. And obviously, as a touring musician, he's been all over the world in loads of the biggest cities in the world. But still, his music is not about that. His music is like about the roots of his country life, and I think it relates a lot to a huge part of America and Canada and North America.
You also get that sense with the song Cross Tie Walker, because that song is about life on the move. Maybe he meant being on tour, but life on the move and having no sense of home. And again, this all just comes back to it's so wholesome just knowing that this guy loves his home. Sure, there's problems. Maybe there's problems with it in the wider sense politically in the country, but he doesn't care what's going on in the White House.
Yeah.
This is his home, and his memories are here, and he wants to be here. But we also then find out in the song Lodi that it's not good. It's not always good, because living in a small town, the song's about a down and out musician who's stuck in his town, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's not his town, by the way. Lodi, I think, is in California, but it's not where he was born. So it's another town.
Yeah.
It's like this guy went to Lodi to play and he got stuck there, isn't it?
And he's reflecting on his failure and disillusionment through the whole, the process of the song. But it's just a great, I think the whole album lyrically is just a great testament to this sense of not everything is perfect in the world, and that's okay. Not everything is perfect with your home. You can be patriotic, you can be proud about your home, but not everything has to be okay. Not everything has to work.
That's something interesting about that, which is I see the character in that song as the musician he could have been. That could have been his fate. So that's a musician who didn't make it, let's put it like that, didn't make it as a famous songwriter, the musician in the story. Because I see it as a character, I don't see it as him. It's just like Bob Dylan and Hendrix would create their characters to tell stories. I think he did a little bit of that. He probably been through a lot of that kind of like playing in small bars and pubs, and people don't really care about the music and just getting drunk and listening to you're just background noise for them. And that's why it's like, if I had $1 for every song I sang to those drunk people, then I could afford my train ticket out of this place. and it's pretty much what it is. I think he's been in that situation, but he made it he made it as a touring musician, as a internationally famous songwriter, singer, and guitar player.
Yeah.
But I think he can't. He's speaking to everyone who's been in that position in life, or even as a musician as well. Professional musicians who are playing not in the best conditions or not in the best venues, but there's still some poetic value to all of that. Still, still talking about he wants to do something. He wants to play. He wants to bring music to people. Yeah. And I think and it's beautiful. Apparently, people in Lodi joke about that song. They say they stuck in Lodi. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Never been there, but.
I wonder if they're offended by it, in the sense of, imagine you, a musician based in London. Imagine you wrote a song about Birmingham and how you have no opportunities there. People in Birmingham would be like, "Oi, mind your business."
I would say that about my hometown. If I say it, I hope they get offended.
There you go. In terms of the songwriting, as I alluded to earlier, we are back to basics with this, because they tried the longer jams in the previous album and they're great, like no problem. I've got no problem with them, but they do these short songs so well. And the perfect example has to be Bad Moon Rising, where it's just it is. Yeah, that one is on this album. I get confused.
Yeah, it's on this album.
They got
because you listen to all of them. That's
they've got two of their most famous hits on each album. It's incredible. But yeah, Bad Moon Rising. It's just how long is it? And for those listening and watching, if you go down to the description or the show notes, you will see a link to a Spotify playlist, and we do this for every episode. The whole album, the album we're talking about, every song will be in a dedicated Spotify playlist, and any other song we mention throughout the episode will be added there as well. So if we mention a song or a particular section of a song, you can go and listen to that on the Spotify and then come back to us, and you'll sort of be along with us. You know what we're talking about. Bad Moon Rising, 2 minutes, 22 seconds.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And it says it all. You don't need more than that. You don't need
a solo in there as well, bro. It's not like it's just a quick country song. My God, they've. I think at the time, album, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it was about a hurricane or something, but I think some sort of natural disaster influenced him to write the song. So, but what I find amazing about it, and it reminds me of "Help" by the Beatles. It's just like really sad or dark lyrics. And the song is so uplifting in a way. Yeah. It's such a huge contrast. Like it is singing about the end of the world, and it makes you dance.
Yeah, and it's so upbeat, and it's so happy, and you get a happy smile on your face whenever you talk about it. But yeah, that is funny.
It is. It's just great, and I think he's got the same sort of concept with Commotion, which is also kind of like an up-tempo, like it's got a positive vibe to it, although the lyrics are not necessarily happy. And Tombstone Shadow is another song that the lyrics are great, but the lyrics are not really, there's nothing positive about the lyrics in that one.
No.
And the song is not negative. The melody and the rhythm, it all makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the other thing is that, I mean, I'll save some points I have for maybe the music section, but how sophisticated I find the writing in places like, the one part that sticks out to me is that in Lodi, there's a key change halfway through the song.
Yeah.
And it just does such a good job. It's not, Lodi's not even the longest song. The longest song is Wrote a Song for Everyone.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful, by the way, because it's just soft and, the little...
Reminds me of the band, that one, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Great point. But
the band, in case you don't know which band we're talking about.
Lodi is 3 minutes, 13 seconds long, but they still fit in a key change that it wasn't even necessary. I'm happy to listen to Lodi how it was for the first 2 minutes, but they do this incredible little instrumental passage that doesn't last long, but they change key in it, and then they do the rest of the song in the new key. And it's not like a key change at the end of a Eurovision song where they do the chorus once and then it's a...
those are the cheesy ones, right? Let's do the chorus again, but one step
big snare hit, new key, finish with, there's still a whole other verse to go. And it's just so clever. Because it's nothing big. It's not an incredible musical achievement. He has,
it sounds like they play slightly. Yeah, I think they play slightly faster
to the jazz key here. No, it's none of that. It's just a simple key change, but it's really effective.
Yeah, and it sounds like they play slightly faster. I think it changes the vibe of the song.
I agree.
It's like the train started to move. The train's leaving the station now.
Great point.
Maybe he's not stuck in Lodi at that point. I think that the key change brings a change of vibe in the song that makes it feel even more positive, regardless of the negative side of the lyrics, I guess.
Yeah. Great point. Did you want to talk about Bad Moon Rising at all anymore? Because it is the most famous song on the album.
Yeah, it is the most. I think. So we talk about the lyrics, and I think this the idea of singing about the end of the world it is such a great, simple way. It's just brilliant. But the riff is what makes the song. The guitar. It's not a riff in the sense that you play, a sequence of notes and form a small, short phrase and play it over and over. Is a rhythm guitar thing that really drives the song.
Do you remember when we did the Chuck Berry episode a few episodes ago? How many times did we say in that album? How many times did the songs all start the same in terms of that same little, that kind of guitar thing? But it didn't get boring because every time there was something a little different. And I feel like, I'm not saying at all that anything's the same here. I just found it as an interesting comparison. But you have this great little intro that is just so short. Which
is essentially the melody. Yeah. Which is essentially what the vocals. I think that's clever arrangement. Yeah, the guitar says it first, and then the vocals come and repeat what the guitar was saying.
Great point, man.
And it's really clever in terms of arrangement. It's like you're repeating the same voice in terms of the same melody, but the first time there's no lyrics. Second time there is lyrics. So it's a really strong rhythm, really solid and strong rhythm all the way through the song, and it's a shuffle. It swings, and it's not the most obvious shuffle because it's too fast for you to actually realize, but it's swinging all the time, all the way to the end of the song, which is very bluesy. Also talking about the blues influence, there's a song here for me. It's a blues song, Tombstone Shadow, because that's a story which some people claim was real. I don't know, because I've never seen John Fogerty himself talking about this, but he went to this gypsy man is it San Bernardino, I guess, the town, and this guy is just telling him that he's going to have 13 months of bad luck. And it says, like, fly in no machine. So, like, don't get up in the sky. Don't get into airplanes and stuff like that. Wow. Because, otherwise you're going to die. And it's going to be, like, bad luck for a long time for you. And, again, the song doesn't feel, sad or worrying or anything like that. And it's a blues structure. It's like 12-bar blues, 3 chords. Exactly. That's the formula. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're talking about a gypsy and you're talking about bad luck, and it's almost like a little bit of black magic in it, and that is very bluesy, So that is proper kind of blues songwriting, and that reminds me a lot. You should put that one on the playlist. Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King, because it's the same sort of theme. Is this man talking about his bad luck, but Albert King's song is about he knows he was born with bad luck and his whole life is doomed. So it's about that.
Yeah.
In this case, John Fogerty seems to be having a great time and life is going well, but this gypsy man tells him, like, for $5, he tells him his life is not going to be that great for the next year.
Yeah. The other one, let's talk about the music now, okay? The music of the album, because you've taken us nicely from Tombstone Shadow, and there's a song on the previous album called Penthouse Pauper that does the same job. And for me, Penthouse Pauper, Tombstone Shadow, and Green River orally symbolize this newfound identity that I feel Creedence establish on this album, and that is the identity of swamp rock. Now, what is swamp rock? Swamp rock is blending blues, rockabilly, country, even rock itself at the time, with some of the guitar sounds. And it just, for me, the Green River is a perfect example of this vibe and the sound it gives off. You've got that twangy guitar with the steady rhythm, the bass and the drums throughout the album are incredible, just holding the steady rhythm, the southern flavored imagery, talking about their home. Remember the other day we spoke about Bruce Springsteen and how we called his subgenre Heartland rock, because it's rock music that has anthemic sides of it, anthemic elements to it, but is talking about America. Yeah. And it's so funny when you think, oh, well, this whole genre is based on the fact that they're talking about this part of the country, but it's the same for swamp rock. That's why it gets its name, for all the swamps and the creeks from where they were growing up in California. And I just think that they established this sound so nicely, because if you go to Bayou Country, there's one song there that's an obvious blues. I will just, for the sake of it, I'll just go and find it, the song I'm talking about. But it is an obvious blues song. I think it's Good Golly Miss Molly. Yeah, it is Good Golly Miss Molly.
That's a Little Richard song, right? Yeah.
Oh, is it a cover?
Yeah.
Ah, of course it is. Yeah. But still, musically, they could have done swamp rock with it, but they didn't. It's still a blues. This is what I'm saying about Bayou Country, trying to do the extended jams, doing just an out-and-out rock and roll blues cover, but then for Green River, absolutely nailing on, this is our sound and this is swamp rock, and we're going to show you with Green River, Tombstone Shadow,
Yeah, exactly. And it's like establishing a style, isn't it? That's the genre that they pretty much created in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not. There's no bands did that level before them. There's something about the fact that they play everything with 2 guitars, bass, and drums that I think makes the album very special.
Yeah.
I read an interview with.
Sorry, do you mean the rawness of it, the production, how it's just
back? Exactly. Because if you compare them to everyone else, in the '60s, everyone was experimenting with. So we kind of get into the other topic, which is. We put on our notes here, Creedence versus the rest.
Shall we come back to that? I just have one more thing to say about the music, and that was the John Fogerty's distinct guitar tone, which at this time, I've said it before, his guitar tone is almost abrasive. I don't think it's nice to listen to. If someone isolated John Fogerty's guitar tone, I'd be like, no thanks, I need this tone differently. But it fits so well into the music, the lyrics, the ambience of the album, and it was heavily influenced by rockabilly and blues. And the song for me that I'm going to put in the playlist now is a song called "Key to the Highway" by Albert King, which I think that album came out 5 years before this one. But even if the album's not, it's just a reminder for me of that guitar tone and how we could have got it from the blues and that early rock and roll stuff. And you hear it perfectly in Commotion. It's got that fast chugging riff, the really aggressive and raw twang to it, that abrasive tone. And I just think that actually John Fogerty's guitar tone is something that sticks out here a lot and is actually really important.
It is important, but there's something about that, which is the riffs and the solos are just perfect. There's no flaws in his playing.
Yeah.
Right. Like so precise in terms of rhythm, great note choices. Everything is in the right place. Still, he doesn't make the music about guitar. It's impressive how the guitar is the loudest voice in the band and sometimes the most memorable part of the song. But still, the songs are about the melodies and the lyrics. Maybe melodies, lyrics, and the rhythm over everything else. Is for me, it feels like the music is bigger than the musicians, which it should be, in my opinion. I love when musicians have that, when they put their ego aside and say, let's write something that is good.
Yeah.
It's going to make people feel good. And it's just as a whole sounds great. It's not about anyone. Like there's no complicated bass lines. Not saying they're easy to play. It's not about that, but they're not complicated in terms of like too many notes. There's not too many drum fills.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all really, really, really good musicians. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And John Fogerty was really picky with arrangements. He would sometimes write the bass lines and tell the drummer which beat to play.
Yeah.
Although he said he came up with 90-something% of the ideas, he would always allow them to jam and create. So they were jamming in studio and playing as a 4-piece band. So
I think it's important to give
because he could have recorded everything. Yeah. He can play everything.
I think it's important to give the other bandmates credits because all we've mentioned, we haven't even spoken about the rest of the band. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know the rest of the band, you've got Fogerty's brother, what was his name? Hold on. I've got you've got Stu Cook and Doug
on
Clifford.
Bass and Doug Clifford.
And then Tom Fogerty on rhythm guitar. But they all deserve the plaudits for this album. It doesn't matter that John wrote 90% of the stuff. The album sounds how it sounds because the rest of the band, although they took on what John was saying about play a bass line like this, they executed it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to stand out as a rhythm guitar player. So no one is going to be talking too much about it. But the rhythm guitar is just perfect for the songs.
Yeah.
And
as I said at the start of the episode, every new time I hear Creedence, they go up in my estimations about probably being one of the best and most important rock bands
exactly.
in history.
And when you think about the job of those three musicians behind him, it's the definition of rhythm section. We talk about it. What is rhythm section? We normally think it's bass and drums, but like in jazz music, you would call the piano and the guitar part of rhythm section.
Good point. Yeah.
Or basically anyone who's not soloing at a certain moment in the song is the rhythm section.
Yeah.
And they sound as a one piece plus the lead guitar player, lead singer as another layer. And know, so they have the whole band as one huge rhythm section. Huge in terms of sound. There's only three people, and they don't overdub much. That's what I like about it.
No, yeah,
and that brings us to the next topic, I think, which is that what makes them so different from everyone else.
Cool, go for it.
Yeah, anyway, we're mixing the topics because it's not. It's all the same thing in the end. Basically, think about what people were doing in the '60s. The Beatles, since they stopped touring, they knew they didn't have to create stuff in studio that had to be reproduced live. Maybe the Beach Boys had the same sort of feeling. Everyone started to add orchestras and stuff. So you had some live bands, like you've mentioned, Grateful Dead, even Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple. Those guys were live bands, and they have the studio bands who are more into overproducing, adding orchestras and layers of instruments and backing vocals and all the stuff. And I think Creedence sits in the middle of that. They're not, they were great live act, but they also try to bring that live performance to the studio sessions in order to make it more, I don't know, more raw, maybe. They were not concerned about doing overproduced stuff and extremely long songs. And I think they've made a point, which is really important, to distance themselves from the whole 60s vibe. Okay, that's crucial to understand why their sound it is how it is. Because they didn't want to be like anyone else. They did not want to bring the orchestra and stuff, and they didn't want to play the 45-minute songs live and just and just play extended solos. So they made a point of staying away from alcohol and drugs,
and
this clearly shaped the way they wrote and performed songs. So you can argue that all the substance that people have used, in the 60s, has influenced the way they write. So, I mean, Hendrix, remarkably, was a guy who was into everything, and his music wouldn't be what it is without all of that, without everything that's part of his personality, including his addiction. So it's.
I think you can say that about the Beatles as well.
You can say that about the Beatles.
They were much more good boys. They did their share of drugs, Stones as well.
And the whole point with those people. So we're gonna try these things. They're gonna change the way we think, and then we can write different stuff. Whilst Creedence was like, we're not taking anything. We're gonna play music. The music is going to come from our hearts and our brains, but there's no external influence in a way. And that just makes them different. It's not better or worse, in my opinion. That approach is not like clearly for your health is better. But I'm saying that musical approach is not necessarily, the only one, but it's what made them special in a way.
Yeah,
it's like 100% focused on playing well, writing well, and also there's no quantity versus quality here. 3 great albums in 1 year, so a lot of hits, a lot of great songs, all written and recorded in a short period of time. But maybe because they were hyper focused.
But then on top of that, I only said 69 because it's crazy to think they did 3 albums in 1 year, but they also did an album in 68 and one in 70 as well, and they're all excellent.
Yeah,
it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and this story, my favorite story about this album is the song "Wrote a Song for Everyone," because it's when John Fogerty is talking about the fact that he didn't give his family enough attention for a certain period of time. He was like relentlessly writing songs, and then I think his wife got upset because he didn't take the kids for a walk or whatever. It was like focus on writing songs, and he said he felt under pressure to keep bringing money to the family and keep everything up and running as it was. So he said, I need to write more songs. I need to make the band more successful. I need to keep doing this. And maybe that's one of the motivations that made him write so many good songs in a short period of time. But it comes with the regret of not living your personal life to a better standard, I would say. So
lyrics, emotional lyrics that combine the. It just. I mean, what was the album where we said that the guy had just completely wrote what he was feeling onto paper? Maybe it was Beach Boys. I don't remember. But anyway, it's just, excuse me, it's just great to hear and read the lyrics of this album where we were talking about that sense of home, the sense of nostalgia, loving your county, loving your town where you grew up, but also looking at the life of a musician from songs like Lodi. And now you've just told me this one. I didn't know that about Wrote a Song for Everyone, but that's a lovely little story.
It's a sad song because of that. It's the slowest and longest song in the album. The only one that features a lot of drum fills as well. It's a beautiful arrangement. And it's sad because it's him realizing that his
he sacrificed to get where he is.
Exactly, he sacrificed his personal life at that moment in time to keep doing the music he was doing.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I think that's it. Really, the only thing left to talk about is the cultural and commercial impact of it. I mean, the album went to number 1 on the Billboard 200, cementing their status as literally one of the biggest bands of the time. Bad Moon Rising got to number 2. Green River also hit number 2. The album went platinum. And I think the more important part, the innovative part, is that it really helped shape the roots rock genre because it was modernizing this traditional American style you were saying. So when we were talking about Creedence versus the rest, the others were going off and using modern techniques and modern production and modern this and that to make extended jams, orchestral pieces. But Creedence just kept the traditional American style of music, the country, the rockabilly, and they modernized it in their way. by blending the genres, by making it better production than you would have had in the 50s, but keeping that traditional American values. And I think the important part is that when you look at who it would have inspired, generations later, you got people like, who did I put in my notes? Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen. We said Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen's main idea is the same kind of thing that they're going for in swamp rock, which is good old American music talking specifically about where we're from. And Springsteen did that, but stadium rock talking about America.
I think the main difference between Bruce Springsteen and Creedence is like Springsteen would be more about America and actually sometimes he would make clear which political issues he's talking about.
Yeah,
it's more evident. This is this.
Correct,
whilst Creedence is generic in a good way, which is like, this could be you in any countryside, anywhere in the world, any small town, or could be you coming from a small town, going to the big city, or Lodi could be the story of any gigging musician in the world. Every person who ever picked up a guitar to make money out of it has been through that sort of situation. So I think there's something even more universal about their music, which is not only American, which is not only American roots.
Yeah,
I think it's
great point.
It's in terms of the lyrics, of course, the music. Yeah, it's like everything that American music represents is somehow there in their music, I guess.
Yeah, lovely. Favorite song?
Wrote a Song for Everyone.
Okay, mine would have to be. I'm a big fan of Tombstone Shadow. I think that's my favorite one, and The Nighttime Is the Right Time is a wonderful cover as well. We haven't actually mentioned that one, but that's a great cover of a Ray Charles song.
And the vocals are just beautiful. He's singing like a soul singer in that one. It's just
and the backing vocals as well. Just so gospelly. I've put that Ray Charles song in the playlist for you all, so that should be.
It's amazing how they play someone else's music and they make it their own. It fits in the album because of the sounds and the grooves. It doesn't sound like it was written by someone else.
They did another one, didn't they? They did I Put a Spell on You.
Yeah, Suzy Q, their first hit. It's a Dale Hawkins song.
Anyway, do you know what? I'm not going to put those in the playlist because we'll get to them the next time we do a Creedence album. So
not all of them. Yeah,
cool.
We can even talk about Creedence cover songs. All the songs they've covered.
We don't have a monologue for you today. Felipe's an incredibly busy man. He had a few recording sessions this week and loads of gigs.
I can improvise one.
Do you want
to? Kind of.
Do it. Go for it. Then.
So here's my improvised monologue. My first contact with Creedence was pretty much my first contact with rock music back in the day. I remember my dad being surrounded by his friends. Everyone is drinking, having a good time, and someone had a CD player. We're really old, right? CD player, and they were listening to some sort of generic pop music, and my dad was like, "This is crap. Let's listen to some good rock and roll." And for some reason, he had the CD with him. Let's put some Creedence in it. I was like, "What's that?" And he gave it to me. He said, "Put it in there." It's like it was a compilation, 22 songs, and they fit in one CD, 22 songs because they're so short. He said, "Put a song like Molina." It was one of the first songs I've ever heard. As soon as I heard the groove, the guitar, the vocals, I was like, my God, this is great music. I need more of that in my life. And that's what Creedence represents for me. And I think to a lot of people is that instant effect of good rock and roll as soon as you listen to it. It contains folk, country, blues, early rock and roll, rockabilly, boogie. It's all in there, but it's their own music. And it's true. It comes from the heart, and the lyrics communicate with everyone from, again, as I said at the beginning, from the countryside to the big city. If you listen to Creedence, they will become part of your life, and they would never leave. I can tell you that. The more you listen to it, the better it gets. And if you never listen to a Creedence album from start to finish, start with this one. It will change your life for the better, and you won't ever stop listening to them. So let Creedence be a part of your life, and you're going to be a happier person. Just saying that.
Bro, your improvised monologues are better than your written ones. That was incredible. That was amazing. So when you started talking about me and my dad, I was like, oh, that's so emotional. Excellent.
Yeah, I would say that, like, just to finish, John Fogerty definitely wrote a song for everyone. So just have a listen to it. It's great.
I can't top that, so I'm not going to try. But it is just an incredible album. As I've said at the start of the episode, and I said it again midway through, you hook on to Creedence, you hook on to some songs. And I had this thing when I do playlists on my Spotify, I listen to an album, I take each song I like and I put it in a playlist. So if I ever want to listen to Creedence, I've got all the songs I liked or I thought I liked in that playlist. And then I go back a year later and I listen to the album again and I'm like, why the hell didn't I put this song in the playlist? And then soon I realize every song from every album ends up in the playlist, which is just a testament to Creedence, as you said.
Yeah.
Fantastic band, iconic. And what stands out most is how they never go away from what is them and from what's their music, their style, their background, their memories. And it's just fantastic. Everything they've done, I've listened to, has been incredible. And on that note, we will end the episode there and say goodbye to you guys. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Long Live Rock and Roll podcast. If you're listening on Apple, Amazon, or Spotify, make sure you go down, give us a quick review, hit the 5 stars. It takes 20 seconds of your time, but does the world of good for us. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with our new episodes. We're also putting out shorter videos as well. You'll probably see that I've done a little Motorhead versus Judas Priest one, and we've got one of Felipe's coming up in the next few days, which is going to be talking about Jimmy Page as a session musician. Just short little videos we thought you'd be interested in and touching more on the topics that we want to talk about. We obviously want to talk about Creedence and all the albums that we do, but these episodes are really structured. We spend a lot of time researching them. It takes a bit of time editing, and we thought we should do some shorter videos either side, but so we get to get all of our rock and metal and all the stuff we love talking about, get it out onto the channel for you guys to enjoy. So thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. Thanks for joining the conversation once again. Keep on rocking, everyone, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.
And as usual, guys, take care and long live rock and roll.